Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, I'm joined by Mark Burch from Sleekstone Private Clients, based down Swansea way. And we're going to have a chat about sort of business, networking, that sort of thing. We met at the Intrabiz Swansea event run by Bernie and Mark Davis. And how are you doing today, Mark? UK?
I'm great, thanks, Mike. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Very networked out a bit today because this is my third Zoom. Sorry, this is my fourth Zoom call of the day, and it's only 1 o'clock, and the other three have all been 2 hours long. So yes, I'm a bit tired and looking forward to having something to eat, but I'm enjoying having a chat with yourself as well. So nice to get on a Zoom call with you.
It's nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, yes, Sleekstone Private Clients. Tell us a little bit about how that come about, and a little bit of your background as well before that.
Yeah, I've been in financial services now for about 23-ish years, which dates me somewhat. But my business, Sleekstone Private Clients, I help entrepreneurs and directors like you across Wales take control of their financial future using simple financial planning. So we don't overcomplicate things. The majority of people I look after as entrepreneurs and directors, they're incredibly busy people. Like you just said, you're on call after call after call. The majority of people I deal with want kind of short, sharp, snappy, can I do this? How do I do it? You know, what's the benefit for me? Without the flowery stuff, shall we say, that maybe other people attach to it. I try my best to take the time with my clients to find out exactly what motivates them. What does money mean to them? We're all in business to make money. We're all in business to try and enhance things. And I use a little bit of a question technique where we start off by asking people what money means to them, and they give me the answer, and we say, okay, what does that mean to you? And eventually we get to the actual crux of what money really means to people. And then we can build on that. Prime example, I was talking to a client last week, and what money really means to her is free time. So she wants free time. So her whole plan is built around how can we get the money she's got to work better for her, to be able to buy her that free time, that she doesn't have to rock up to work every single day until she's 72. So we're putting a plan in place for her to make sure that she will actually retire comfortably and be able to have that free time to go and do what she wants to do with her the rest of her life.
Okay, good. And so is that financial side of things, the financial advice and advisory, is that something you've always done, or have you done something else and that led into this, or what?
No, I started off back in the 90s when I left university selling insurance over the telephone in a call centre of all places. And like a lot of people, kind of fell into financial services back in the late 90s. It was never something I'd ever really considered, and never looked at it and thought that's a career path for me. But realised pretty quickly that actually I get paid for talking to people. I'm very much a people person. I love talking to people. I love listening to what they've done, how they've achieved it, where they've got to. And actually found a niche where I can do that and get paid for it. So it's kind of a win-win for me. But I did have a bit of a break, career gap, if you like. I started my first business on my own back in 2007 in financial services again. I had a brain injury in 2012 that led me to actually sell the first business that I created in 2014. I took a couple of years off to go and get better. I invested with a friend of mine in a couple of other businesses. So it puts me in the serial entrepreneur camp as well. So I understand when I'm talking to entrepreneurs and directors, I am an entrepreneur, I am a director. I know exactly what you're going through, the pitfalls, the highs, the lows, the sleepless nights about this, that, and the other, and the bits where you bounce off the rooftops, it's all gone brilliantly. So I can empathise more with people I'm talking to in that arena. But I restarted, in financial services back in July last year. We've managed to grow the business through the COVID and the lockdown period, mainly by doing things like this and Zoom. We're just shy now about 5 million under management for clients, which in almost 12 months, in fact, it'll be 12 months next week that we relaunched, has been a phenomenal restart. So, yeah, really, really glad to be back and doing what I really love and enjoy.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And yeah, I usually ask people how the lockdown has been for them, but I know, we've been on a few Swansea networking events on a Friday morning over the last few weeks, and I know you've talked about how you've done some business acquisition, or bought another portfolio, if you like, to add into your business, which can be a great way of ramping up quite quickly. So I know a little bit about your pivoting, if you like, through the lockdown. But yeah, so if you want to maybe go into a bit of detail on that, about how that opportunity come around, and
Yeah, sure.
what you did to do it.
Yeah, it was actually on one of the networking calls that you and I were watching with Mark Wright from The Apprentice, where he was saying, money is cheap at the moment. There'll be people out there that are panicking and are not going to survive COVID, and therefore they're going to be people who are looking to exit their businesses, and now's an opportunity to do it, and so on. And I took the bull by the horns. I rang a couple of people that I know that are in the same industry, and one of them actually turned around and went, you know what, I can't do this whole lockdown thing. I can't do Zoom. I can't do this. I can't do that. And he didn't want to continue with it. So I've then turned around and said, well, look, how about we have a conversation about how we can help you exit from the business, and managed to, as I say, secure funding from a bank, and did a deal with him. And we brought these clients across, and they're now going to be part of my portfolio. And I suppose I'm not going to say I work in a different way to other people, but I do tend to be in contact with my clients almost monthly. Through the COVID period, most of the conversation we've had with clients actually has not been about investments, but more about their mental health and how they're feeling. Has someone been in contact with them? Have they got everything they need? We've arranged food parcels we send out to a couple of clients who can't get out. So we've organised that and done that for them. And that's nothing to do with financial planning. That's nothing to do with what I do as a business. That's just me as a person who's trying to make my clients the centre of my universe. Because without clients, I have no business. I don't sell a product. It's not like I've got 10 things that I can go and sell, or I've got a stack of stock behind me. My business is me. And the advice I give, and the way that I look after clients. And that's how we grow the business is through referral, and say that we've sped things up, as you say, by acquisition, but it's the right opportunity at the right time. So the entrepreneur in me is screaming, there's an opportunity there, go and take it. So I did.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And yeah, I myself has pivoted a bit in the lockdown as well. Before the lockdown, I was more a sales and marketing consultant, trainer, service provider. I'm a former corporate sales director of a fast growth tech startup business. So, I used to help people with their strategy and with their services and stuff. But I wrote a book at the beginning of lockdown, and my actual grand plan, my big mission was to always impact and help as many people on the planet. And so I wanted to become a global speaker for the last few years. And so, having written the book, which was something I wanted to do for a couple of years, but didn't have the time, and lockdown gave me that time and the energy to go and do it, that then's given me the push now to look to become a global speaker and start getting on the speaking circuit, which then led me to setting up the podcast and the YouTube channel. So, and then I started podcasting. I set myself a target of one a day podcasting. And I ramped that up to 3 a day quite quickly, because I'm always about trying to get lots of activity done. And then I re-listened to Grant Cardone's 10X recently, and I thought, actually, I'm going to 10X my podcasting original plan of 1 time a day. So now I'm committing to do 10 a day. So I'm going to do 10 podcasts, because I want to help as many people on the planet.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of information and education, personal development stuff that I've learned that I want to share with people. So I put it out on my podcast, and people can dip into it, find it, and listen to it, and get whatever they want out of it. But what's that?
What's the book called?
The book is called Bounce Back, A Human Survival Story, or either a Human Surthrival Story, maybe. Yeah. So it's my life story, basically, but a self-help book as well, about how I was able to overcome some adversity in my life, similar to, it wasn't a medical adversity, but similar to you overcoming your adversity. Mine was a bit of a divorce and some financial mess from the last global credit crunch. So mine was all tied up with that. But it's a book which I wrote to try and help people get over this situation, because I got through the problems caused by the last one. So I thought the lockdown inspired me to write it, because I knew what people are going to be dealing with for the next 10 years now. And if I can help those people in any way I can, then I'm massively motivated to do that. And so the book then has led on to seminars. I've created some formulas which I want to teach. And as part of my becoming a speaker as well, I want to teach on stage the principles of these, and then teach online courses and real world corporate courses, teaching people how to be happier in life and how to be more successful and things like that. So I've had a real pivot. I've had a real pivot during this lockdown situation, and the podcasting, the fact that I'm from a corporate background and I'm used to efficiency, I was like, well, if I'm podcasting, I might as well YouTube at the same time, 2 in 1. And then I do a lot of networking and a lot of follow-up meetings like this is today. Like we've met online Zoom events for a long time. This is our first real chat, if you like. And I decided actually I can combine my follow-up chat with a podcast and a YouTube at the same time.
Yeah.
That's like three things at once, which, you know, they would all take me sort of like half an hour each, an hour and a half, but it's just 1/2 an hour, which I'm massively into, how you get more time into your life and into your day.
Yeah, I quite agree. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and I have to do things like that because when you're doing a lot of things, you learn techniques and tricks and how to manage those things, you know, at the same time sometimes. So I'm doing a 75-day challenge at the moment, which is called 75 Hard, which I've got to do 2 different 45-minute exercises per day, 1 outdoors, 1 indoors. I've got to be on a diet, not drink any alcohol, drink a gallon of water, and read 10 pages from a book. At the same time as doing 10 podcasts, YouTube channel calls, and all the rest of that. So you've got to learn systems and techniques and processes to be able to consistently do that much activity and action, like, you know. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you because it's been a big pivot. You know, we've both gone through big changes during this lockdown.
Yeah, I must admit, I think that the week before lockdown, before we actually officially entered into lockdown, I think like a lot of business owners, it was a bit of blind panic of, you know, is lockdown going to happen? When's it going to happen? How long is it going to go on for? And moreover, how on earth are you going to communicate with your clients?
Yeah.
Because my business is normally face-to-face. So my business is normally you and I sat in a room together, you're in a hotel or in your house or in your office, and we would be having this conversation. So one thing, like again, like most business owners have had to sort of realize, is how to become adaptable immediately. Yeah. Because you're suddenly in a position where, you know, the old way of working has gone out the window. The new way of working is here and now. And if you're going to succeed, you need to adapt and get on with it immediately. I've worked at home for, crikey, the last probably 13, 15 years. I've been working from home. So the whole home working thing is no different to me at all.
Same as me. You know, I've been in lockdown for 8 years, other than going out networking once or twice a week.
I think that the biggest challenge was, you know, like a lot of people when lockdown first hit was, you know, how do you now reach new people? How do you find the next client? How do you, you know, get in front of these people? So the speed at which networking organizations went, you know, actually we need to do this online. And I then realized that Zoom, Teams, Skype, FaceTime, WhatsApp, you know, you name it, suddenly became a massive part in what I do with my clients. But then, I mean, I looked through the lockdown period and I wrote down right at the very start of lockdown, when we come out the other end of this, what do I want it to look like? I'm a big planner. I like having plans of, you know, this is my optimum goal. This is where I want to try and be. And I wrote down a plan at the start of it and said, well, if I can get 3 new clients by the point at which lockdown finishes, I think that's going to be a pretty big achievement. And at the time, the initial, as I say, the week before lockdown, as it was impending, I was looking at it thinking, God, if I get 3, wow, you know, that's going to be absolutely off the planet. And we actually signed up our 7th new client last week.
Yeah, brilliant.
And all 7 people I've never met before. It's all been done through the power of the computer. So it just goes to show it is possible, for one, which I didn't think it was when we first started. Yeah. And 2, the rapport and the trust that you can build up with people through a video chat. It just shows that actually, do we need to jump in a car and drive 2 hours down the road to go and meet in person? I'm not saying in-person meetings are dead, but I'm starting to wonder. And the more business owners like you that I'm speaking to are going, you know, actually, you know, before lockdown, I would have travelled from, I don't know, Cardiff to London to go for a meeting. I'm there in the meeting for half an hour. I've spent, you know, 6 hours travelling.
4 hours or 6 hours,
exactly.
yeah.
And they're now going, you know what, I've done a Zoom call with somebody. I haven't left the house. I've done a Zoom call with them. We've still done the meeting in half an hour. And I've bought myself back 12 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And businesses are
As
waking up.
somebody who's into efficiency like me, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, there is still a time and a place for meeting people in person.
Definitely.
But I do strongly think, you know what, actually, my business model is going to change going forward. Certainly the first meeting with any new prospective client, and I always treat the first meeting as a two-way interview. So it's a conversation point for the potential client to meet me, for me to meet them. Are we going to work well together? Are we on the same sort of wavelength in terms of where we want to be? Because I think that, especially in the world that I operate, that people I'm talking to want advice. And if I'm going to give you the expertise and the advice that I have, if you're not then going to take it on board, we're not going to work well together. And I don't want to be in a position where your name flashed up on my phone and, oh God, not Mike again. I want to be, yeah, great, Mike's ringing me. Oh, Mike, I'd be really excited because I'm talking to you. And I think part of that's legacy of the brain injury is that when I got back on the planet and I learned to function again, I looked at it and thought, actually, you know what, I need to be in a position where I'm working with people I want to work with. So the Zoom thing's great because we cut out all the nonsensical stuff. We're getting to the point. What do you want? Can I help you? Yes, I can. Do we like each other? Yes, we do. We can work together. And if I feel like, there's not a connection there, or the client will sometimes say, actually, I'm not convinced that you and I have gelled enough to do something, I'll happily refer you to the competition, which everybody else tells me I'm crazy. But I will happily say, you know what? I don't think we're gonna, it's not gonna work. But I do know a guy down the road who's brilliant.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing all the time. At the end of the day, life's too short to be working with people you don't enjoy working with.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
You know what I mean? So to me, as a sales and marketeer as well, life's too short to sell stuff you're not interested in. So or you don't believe in, or whatever. At the end of the day, sell something, market something, do something that you 100% want to do.
Yeah. I'd say, I've been in financial services 23, 24 years. It's what I do. It's kind of ingrained in me now how I do it. But when I first started in financial services all those years ago, I learned very, very quickly how important service was in terms of looking after people and their money and so on. And 9 times out of 10, when we have things like COVID or the credit crunch you mentioned earlier, or even the dot-com boom and bust of the sort of early noughties, people, yes, they're concerned that their investment has gone down. But if I came to you and said, oh, Mike, you've lost 20%, that's a bit bland and a bit brutal. So what I tend to do is say to people, look, let's just go over again why you chose to invest. Why did you choose to do this pension? Why did you choose to do this investment? Have we hit that point yet? If you, let's say for argument's sake, you invested yesterday for 15 years for the benefit of your children or whatever it may be, it wouldn't be a case of we're sitting here today going, oh, you've lost 20%. It'd be a case, look, let's look at the bigger picture here, that actually we put this money in for a very long period of time. We haven't hit that point yet, so therefore we've got time for it to recoup, things will change. And it's bringing it back to the client's perspective of saying to the client, look, let's just run over why we did this investment. Let's just remind ourselves the level of risk we signed ourselves up to. And we're now hitting that point where in COVID, things have been very, very turbulent in the markets. But by ringing clients and saying, are you worried? Are you concerned? Do we need to have a conversation? People then come back and go, actually, no, you know what? Been here before. I've got long-term investors I've looked after 20 plus years who are going, I ring them up and go, how are we doing? Oh yeah, it's just like 2008 all over again, isn't it? Yeah, pretty much. And it will come back at some point. Nobody can guarantee when it will be. Nobody can tell you what it will do or how quickly it will happen. But we know historically, things will always go back up. So at some point, it will go back up. And what we need to do is we just need to be patient. We need to hold on tight because sometimes it can be a bit of a roller coaster. But it's, as I say, my job at that point then is actually reminding people that you're in a position where we have been here before, supporting them mentally sometimes, that that they are worried, but they are concerned and so on. So, but let's look at the fundamentals again. Let's look at the underlying assets we've purchased. Why did we go into that particular arena? And that puts them in a better frame of mind. And also looking for the opportunities for clients, because when markets fall as dramatically as they've done with COVID, as they did in 2008, It's sale time. Let's not look at it and go, oh God, it's gone down by 40%. That's a discount. That is a massive discount on the market and where it was previously. And the prime example I use with most clients is, imagine you're walking past a car showroom and you see your dream car in the window. And it says in the window, today only, it's 40% cheaper than it was yesterday. When are you going to buy it? Are you going to wait till it goes back to full price, or are you going to buy it at that discounted price? And again, unfortunately, with some things, you could buy in at a discounted market at 40% and it drops again tomorrow by 10%. But that's the nature of investment. But the fundamental is the same, is that you see that thing that you want and go, actually, that's blooming cheap. I'm not going to wait for it to go back up and then go and buy it at that point. I'm going to buy it now, and I'm going to keep it for however long it takes to get to the point I want to get to. And people who, like we said about earlier about expanding in the times of COVID, that's how you're going to make money. That's how you're going to make, you realize your dreams, and you're going to get to the point where you go, actually, I am going to retire at 55, or I am going to buy that yacht and sail down to the south of France, or whatever your dream is, can be accelerated in times of crisis.
Yeah. And I can see why you built, some businesses up and building this one up again, because, I think there are some financial services people that I've met in the past who do tend to try and treat their clients more like numbers and stuff rather than relationships. And so what you've done acquiring a business, I know some people might be worried about that because they think, oh, I'll buy the portfolio, but then half the portfolio might disappear. Whereas you might not have considered that because you know that actually I'm going to speak to these people enough and give them enough value that they're going to stay, and therefore I'm going to get the value out of the portfolio that I perceive it to be worth.
Absolutely. I mean, what we do with our clients, we run, we've run, and we're going to do again as COVID passes, we run client events every year. So we actually get a guest speaker to come along, talk about the economy or market fluctuations or what the outlook in the world is, etc. So they get an expert's view, not just me stood there talking. They get another person, another expert in their field, who will come along and say, our investment manager is doing this or doing that. We do it normally in different venues. So we've run them in the past. We've done it in Slebich in Pembrokeshire. We've done it at the Grove in Narberth. We've even run one at the Scarlets for the rugby fans amongst our clients. And we always try and do something a bit different. So I remember one year when we did it at the Scarlets, I got Phil Bennett to come along and do a Q&A. We got Rupert Moon to do the stadium tour for us afterwards. So just little things to make people go away thinking, oh, actually, that was a brilliant day. Now, the people who didn't like rugby wouldn't have come to that one. But the people who like really salubrious venues would have come to the Grove, where the service is absolutely phenomenal. And Neil and his team are absolutely, it's faultless. It floats. The whole day just floats. It's brilliant. But that's about giving back to our clients, because we're saying to our clients, you can only come if you're a client. This isn't an open invite to everybody and anybody. This is, you are a client. I'd like you to come to this because I want you to reaffirm once a year in a room with other people who share your opinion of me, because you're there, and listen to what's happening in the world and what's happening in the markets, and take into account that how many other financial advisors, financial planners, whatever you want to call yourself, how many other people act in that way.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And I can see that. I can see that difference, I've been around business for 30 odd years. So, I can see the differences between the way different businesses treat their clients and talk about them and that sort of thing. So, what are the full range of products, services, solutions you offer?
I work in conjunction with St James's Place. So we've got a whole raft of everything you can possibly think of. So whenever I go to networking things and people say, what do you do? And so I look after everybody's financial planning, because that's what I do. So we've got access to mortgages. We've got access to protection, whether it be corporate protection in terms of creating death in service scheme for groups or single employees. So even if you're a one-man directorship in your own limited company, you can now actually have your own group life insurance, so that's paid for by the company. We plan people's retirements, and I say that rather than pension planning, because I don't look personally at pensions as being a thing where you put money into it and at the end of it you buy an annuity. I look at a pension as being a cross spectrum. So it may be that you actually go and get some buy-to-lets, It may be that you do a regular saving into, say, an ISA. You also do the conventional pension of actually putting money in and getting the tax relief. So that when you get to retirement, you've got a plethora of instruments that can rise and fall with the ebbs and flows of markets and give you a kind of cross-platform of retirement income. So rather than looking at a retirement as being, I'm going to build up this big lump of money, I'm going to give it to an insurance company, then give me an annuity for the rest of my life, we actually do it in such a way, and I obviously don't advise people on buying property, but I encourage people to consider every aspect. What have you got? What's your pot look like? What are we going to look like when we get to retirement? But because of the scope and nature of St James's Place, we've got access to things like VCT, so venture capitalist trust, enterprise investment schemes. So if you're looking to do tax mitigation planning, we can actually do that. The list is really long, but what we try and do with all our clients is we find out exactly what they've got, where they want to be, where do they want to go, and then we match the products up to what they actually need, rather than going in and going, right, I'm going to try and sell you a mortgage, or I'm going to sell you a pension. Yeah. I walk in with a completely open view that, you tell me what you want to try and achieve. Let's work a plan out. What's life going to look like from this point onward? And we then build around that.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And do you do anything with financing at all? Or do you have any partners that you can pass on for when people have finance needs?
Yeah, I've got quite a few financial consultants that I know who will finance, lease purchasing, hire purchasing, actually lending money to businesses. What I pride myself on is being in a position where if you come to me and say, Mark, do you know someone who does? Chances are, yes, I do, because I'm very well connected. And I like to expand my connections on LinkedIn particularly. And if anybody ever comes to me and says, I need this or I need that, my brain automatically goes into autopilot of, well, actually, you ought to talk to Mike, or you ought to talk to Mark, or you ought to talk to this guy, because I know somebody in those fields. And it's not that I just know them. I've actually had a conversation with them, so I understand what they do. So I can then say, you know what, you were really good to go and talk to this guy called Ian, because he's really good in that particular area, or go and talk to Mark at Yuma Finance because he's really good in that particular area. So I try and guide people together. I'm a very good connector. I like.
Yeah, you're a natural networker and connector. Same as me. Yeah. Same as me. The reason I asked you that question is because I've got a really good friend who works for a company who does a lot of commercial protection, etc. But they also do finance. Yeah. And he's always looking to partner up with people. He's a massive networker, same as us. And he comes on to Swansea events occasionally. We haven't been on that often of late because he does the Cardiff events as well, same as me. And he does lots of other networking as well. Have you met him, Phil Emanuel?
Name rings a bell, actually, yeah. I don't think I've met him.
He has been to a Swansea event or two, but I was just wondering, have you followed up? Have you had a decent one-to-one with him?
Not yet, no. I think I've seen him at one. I think he came to one of those Swansea Introbiz things a while ago.
Yeah, I'll do an introduction if you like then, because Phil's a massive network and he definitely would be a good lead referral partner for you, because there's some stuff that you do that he doesn't, and there's some stuff that he does that you don't. And it sounds like you're both pretty active, both customer focused, busy networkers. So yeah, that would be definitely, I'll do that introduction following this. So what's the grand plans? Obviously, you've just got back into the financial services. You obviously got some big plans because you've done the acquisitions and whatever as well. What's the future look like?
Rosy at the minute. My plan pre-injury was to get to 55, build the business to such a size and pass it on. Post-injury, it's the same thing. Timescales have changed slightly because I've lost this kind of 5-year gap in between. But oddly, one of my sons, I've got 6 children, and one of my sons has started expressing a massive interest, especially during lockdown, about being entrepreneurial. Because he had a little job working on weekends somewhere where that obviously now isn't happening because nowhere's open. So he's immediately gone, right, what can I do? I need money. What can I do? How can I earn it? So all my entrepreneurial books, NLP books, business development books, he's been burning through during lockdown, trying to get ideas and so on. And he actually said the other day, so, well, if I want to come into the business when I'm older, how do I do it? And is that something that you'll be willing to do? And I was kind of like, well, yeah, because I didn't really kind of think, because they're all still quite young, didn't really look at it and think, when they're older, they can join the business. But he's kind of going, you know what, actually, yeah, I've looked into it. I know that I can go to university now and do a degree in wealth management. I want to get qualified, and I want to join your business at 22. And
How old is he now?
13.
Okay, so this is what I would tell him to do for you, because he'll help you grow your business, right? He'll help him, right? Because he'll probably be better at this stuff than you, right? Because of age, right? Is I'd get him to do all your marketing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, all the social media, because he's natural at it, right? Because he's grown up with it, yeah. So I'd get him to do all of that, and then he can learn by osmosis, you know, be an apprentice through gathering information and learning about your business. And then when he's ready to do his exams and whatever, he'd be a bit of a head start, because he'd already have that information, the terminology, you know, all of that in the bank, if you like.
I like your thinking, because he actually does already run my social media. He's taken over now. He wants to set up, like you've done, he wants to set up a YouTube channel for me to promote what I do on. He wants me to look at podcasts. He is very keen on taking over my Instagram.
Yeah.
Because Facebook and LinkedIn, or Facebook in particular, is run by a marketing company, a social media company. They're brilliant what they do, but we don't really do much on LinkedIn, Instagram. And Dylan has now turned around and gone, I love Instagram. I know exactly how to get people to, you know, up this and up. So he now wants, so I said, okay, right, you crack on with that. So hopefully there'll be big things happening soon on Instagram. But
well, I do some coaching and mentoring and stuff as well. So if ever he wanted a bit of expertise help, you know, then I'm more than happy to help out in some way. And
yeah, that'd be great. I mean, he's like a sponge, so you tell him something and it just goes in there.
That's what the kids are like these days. That's why I said they'll be better than you. They'll be better than
oh, absolutely.
You know. The thing is they're natural at it, but there's some stuff that you only pick up over time, you know, and there's some stuff, for example, you only pick up when you benchmark. So like split testing or A/B testing. So when you manage lots of accounts, you learn stuff that you never learn being someone who manages just your own accounts, because you've got nothing to compare it against.
I think the other thing as well is, as I say, during lockdown, he's been looking for the entrepreneurial way of doing things. Yeah. And he said, well, if I run your Instagram for you, do I get paid? So we've agreed a rate. And he's then gone, well, who else do you know that needs to run an Instagram page? Because I run theirs as well. So I think he's going to be a mini marketeer. As much as I'd love to go into my business, if he does that and it takes off and he's making himself a fortune, well,
you still got 5 more left.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the joy of having 6. You're about to get someone who wants to join the business, and then you've got you might be thinking about exiting before, but then it might be passing on, putting it into a trust. You know, getting the one child who's running it to carry on with it, put the whole thing into a trust for the whole of them to benefit from.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. So, if ever you want to chat about anything, I'm always happy to help. I know we got some similar taste in books, I think, because I mentioned on one of the events before about the book I'm reading at the moment, which is Think and Grow Big, Napoleon Hill. And you mentioned, I think, you got that. So have you passed that on to him?
Yeah.
He's read that Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
He's reading that at the minute, and he's read If You Think You Can, Norman Peake. That's a great book. And I'm halfway through now the Bugger and the Badass.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that
one. Right. I've got quite a few lined up because I'm doing this challenge, 10 pages a day. So I wasn't much of a reader, but I get all my information through audiobooks or YouTube mostly. I'm a massive YouTube listener. You know, not watching people dance around and be funny and all that. You know, people. You know, I listen to people like Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Grant Cardone, Gary Vee. You know, anyone who pops up at the end of when you listen to those people and something good pops up and grabs your attention. I quite like getting a lot of information and not just the same information that everybody's getting off the same people. I like to mix it up a bit and I take my own perspective on things.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I've read a huge amount of books during lockdown. It's cost me a fortune and keep on getting these books after the library's not open. But there's the classics like Eat the Frog,
Brian Tracy.
You name it, I've read it, and it's interesting because the underlying thing in all of them, there's always one sort of undercurrent with all of it, which is if you imagine where you want to be, you're going to get there. And
Yeah, mindset is everything. Is the key driver behind it all. If you believe you can do it, you can, and if you don't believe you can do it, you're right, you can't.
Yeah, no, quite right, and that's it. And it's, I mean, I was read Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, Key Person of Influence, again, Daniel Priestley.
I've been on a couple of his courses. I've been on his seminar. And I like to do that sort of stuff as well, real world stuff. Seminars. Yeah. I've been on Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kevin Green, loads of times. Daniel Priestley, John DeMartini. He's great. Dr. John DeMartini.
Having been on that call with Mark Wright last week, I booked onto his seminar or his ClimbCon in June next year. So I booked on that, and I've gone a bit all out really, because I've gone for the top package to actually sit on a table with, at the front and have lunch with him and dinner with him and all that. Because as we keep saying, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. So I'm going to be in a room full of my ideal candidates, which are entrepreneurs and directors, because that's the people who are going to be attracted to the event.
Yeah.
And I'm paying a premium, but I'm paying a premium to sit with those people, have dinner with them, and learn from them.
Yeah.
So it's really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and I've listened to Mark Wright a number of times. I've listened to who else? Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Sharon Lecter, Robert Kiyosaki. I listen to a lot on YouTube. He puts a lot of content out. Yeah, all great people to get that message from. But it's like, I do coaching and training and mentoring and all that sort of stuff as well. And the key thing I pick up is you've got to work on their mentality first, because it doesn't matter what you teach people. If they've got the wrong mentality, you could just tell them a million times the right techniques and the right tricks and the right things to do, but they won't go and do it. They won't apply it, so it makes no difference. So you might as well teach someone nothing if they're not going to apply it.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's in a nutshell, as I said earlier, that's pretty much how I deal with my clients in terms of the first meeting. Because if I'm making suggestion and comment, and it's never going to be a recommendation at the first meeting, but if someone says, I really want a tire by the time I'm 45, they need a reality check that unless they're going to win the lottery or they've got the big idea that is going to come off.
Yeah.
Being I don't know, a senior manager in Tesco's or whatever it may be is not going to get you to where you want to be unless you make massive sacrifices now. So I try and get in the mindset, as you just said, get in the mindset of the client and say, okay, well, look, where do you want to be? Where do you want to look? Where are we trying to actually get to?
Yeah. And what are you willing to do for it? And what are you willing to give up for it? And
But as I say, if I get the sort of, if I'm putting ideas across and people going, no, I don't think that worked, no, that was, you're not open to the suggestion, you're not open to the advice.
Yeah.
For me and that person to work together is just not going to happen. They want an order taker. They want someone who will walk in and go, what do you want? Okay, you want a pension, £50 a month, no problem. The guy down the road will do that. He'll do that. I won't. I'll sit there and say, well, actually, to achieve what we need to achieve, we need to do this. So we need to have a plan, and that's the people I like working with. I like people working with people. This is why I picked entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs will go, you know what? Yeah, I do want that, and I've got a plan, and I've got a vision now of how I'm going to achieve that. And my job is then to try and hone that vision into something sensible and achievable, to help them get there.
Well, we like to work with the same people, because I do the same thing as well. So I educate people on the things they need to change about themselves, sales and marketing wise. Usually it's activity numbers and rates, because they're not doing enough. So I educate people and I tell them some of the things they should be doing. The ones that just completely blank that, don't want to work with those people, because I can't help them. They don't want to change. They don't think there's anything wrong with where they're at now. But the ones who, the difficulty I have is that a lot of people, it's technology based, a lot of the advancements in marketing and sales and getting business growth and efficiencies, and a lot of people don't understand the technology. So sometimes you just got to let them come around to the learning and the understanding of technology first before they then realize that you were right all along. So you have to just give them that time. So you can't just dismiss people just out of hand, because a lot of the time you just got to let them catch up with your mindset and where you're at, because you're just a little bit further on than their knowledge and experience allows them to be at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd say it rarely happens that I meet someone I think I can't work with. But as I said earlier, I'd rather deal with people that I want to work with and that are willing to, listen and, as you say, adapt where necessary. Financial planning is all about being adaptable, because I know, and this is, I suppose, where it works and helps me better in what I'm doing now, is that I've had the experience of having a plan I had my plan, 2012 when I fell and banged my head. My plan, I'm going to retire at 55, I'm going to sell the business for 2 or 3 million. I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to do this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then my world changed. I went out for a training run, slipped on some ice, had a brain hemorrhage, and my plan had to alter. But the fact I had a plan made it easier because I'm just then amending what I want to try and achieve rather than going, I haven't got a plan, what am I going to do? Because it was okay because I've got a plan. The world has changed. Now I just need to adapt that plan to still be able to achieve what I want to achieve. It's going to take, a little bit more hard work, a little bit more effort. I've had to reappraise everything. But by having that plan initially has made the biggest difference in the world because you're in a position where you've got the plan. And then you can adapt it. And that's the thing, because I quite often see people and say to them, what do you want to do with your life? Don't know. Well, where do you want to go? Don't know. When do you want to retire? Don't know. Or some people will say, well, I'm going to retire at 55. Okay, well, how much are you going to retire on? Oh, I want 60 grand a year. Okay, well, in which case you need to build up a pension pot of, let's say, 800,000 off the top of my head. Is that affordable? Oh, God, no. Okay, so we need to realign this, and don't we? So you're not going to retire at 55, or if you are, how much realistically, and back to the plan. And everything is born out of the plan. And then every year I see my clients, every year we pull the plan out of the drawer, we look at it, you evaluate it, where are we? Did we hit these points along the way? Have we hit the things that we wanted to hit? And it can be a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. But having that plan is absolutely fundamental to everything I do with my clients.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's the same with me in a sales and marketing plan. If you like, you've got to have a strategy. The strategy's got to be right. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time and effort going down the wrong direction.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah, quite right too.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm conscious that we both got following meetings following this. So I'd just like to say thank you for coming on to my podcast and the YouTube channel. It's going to make a very colourful episode with your shirt and my background.
Yeah. Well, explain that. That was a challenge at the networking thing you and I were at this morning. To try and make an effort to outdo Bernie, but might be again. So.
Yeah, well, it's been great having you on anyway. And thanks for telling me a little bit about what you do and your background and all of that. I think there's definitely some possibilities of us, referring clients to each other and all that sort of stuff. And I'll definitely do that introduction to Phil as well, because there's definitely some stuff you can do together as well. And if your son needs any help at all, get him to reach out to me or listen to my podcast, because there's lots of information on there and on my website. And that's it, really. We'll leave it there. So thanks a lot. There's nothing else left for me to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening.